So, what is the purpose of marketing for a medical practice? I think when we ask most medical practices to answer this question, I think they jump straight to getting more patients, which I think we would all agree that that's the desired outcome at some point, right? The desired end outcome for anything that we do. But I also think that most practices have a pretty narrow definition of what the purpose of marketing is for their practice. And the reality is there are a lot of other purposes that marketing has. So today I want to talk a little bit through what some of those other purposes are and why it's important to broaden your thinking about marketing for your practice. So let's start off I want to talk a little bit through some of the nuances of that purpose of getting more patients. So the reality is that getting a new patient, it involves a long string of other marketing activities that have to happen prior to you getting the patient. So let's think about this continuum, right? So in the very beginning, that new patient has to discover your practice. They have to figure out that you even exist or that you're even an option, right? So that's the first thing that has to happen. Then they have to engage with you in some way, doing research. Again, even if they have a physician referral, even if that's how they found out about you, they're still going to do their research to understand a little bit more about you. You have to build trust with them. They have to understand maybe how you're different from some of the other options they have. There's a lot of research that happens in there. Then they have to reach out to you in some way, right? Call, submit a form, whatever. And then your front office has to convert them, right? Has to call them back at the right time, call them back enough times, respond quickly, have a schedule that's convenient for them to come in. And even then, if you want that patient to then turn into some sort of a treatment or surgery, you then also have to have a great office visit, consultation with the physician, and even follow up after that consultation to get a treatment or a surgery scheduled or whatever. So there's a long chain of events that happen before someone becomes a new patient. And so I want to talk through thinking about what are some of those other purposes of marketing for your practice. So let's start off with number one. Number one is to get more visibility and awareness of your practice. This is a really important objective, right? Many medical practices rely on physician referrals to make people aware of them. And we always say that's just not, it's just not a sustainable model if you really want to grow, right? You can't be completely reliant on physician referrals. And one of the big reasons that we say that is because there's so much self-directed research, even if someone has a referral. And there's a lot of self-referral, right, that happens, especially for, patients that have PPO policies and can actually do their own self-referrals. So you need to be where patients are searching. You need to show up. They need to know that you exist, right? And that means good SEO, having a website that shows up in SEO results, having your physician and practice listings that show up. Those have to exist, right? Or even potentially reaching out through ads to create that awareness and visibility. But that is sort of an introductory step, right? Is you just have to, more people have to know you exist, right? And marketing can play a huge role in making that happen. The second purpose of marketing for your medical practice is also to build your reputation. So there's been quite a bit of research that's been done on this. A big part of your reputation online for practice are your practice listings and specifically your reviews. This is one of the most influential factors in a patient choosing a physician or a practice are those reviews. And those reviews take time. That is a marketing exercise. I think a lot of practices maybe don't realize that, but having a high number of reviews and having good quality reviews is not something you just leave to chance or just happens naturally in Google. The practices that do this well actually have a system that they've created to increase those number of reviews and the quality of the reviews. The third purpose of marketing for your medical practice is to do things like introduce a new location or a new physician. So this is related a little bit to awareness, but it's particularly important if you're, let's say, opening a new location in an area that you haven't been marketing in before. If you're a franchisee of a larger practice group, and maybe you're opening your new location. If you're introducing a new physician, you're adding a new physician to the practice, maybe that physician has a specialty that you didn't have before. Or if maybe you have a transition with physicians happening, a physician retiring and another one taking over, or something of that nature. Marketing is really important to, again, create awareness around those particular activities. The next thing that I want to talk about is a much more targeted way to look at patient acquisition. And that is, the purpose of marketing can be to increase patients for a very specific treatment or a very specific condition that you're wanting to target. So I'll give you an example. If you are a pain management practice and you want to drive more spinal cord stimulator patients, you can approach your marketing with that as your primary objective. So you're not just trying to get more patients, you're trying to get patients specifically for conditions like failed back surgery that are more likely to be candidates for spinal cord stimulators, or maybe you're trying to reach people that are specifically looking for spinal cord stimulators. So that is a much more targeted way to look at marketing. And I would say for most practices, you need to at least prioritize the treatments and conditions that you want to go after, because most practices don't have enough money to really go after every single condition and treatment that they offer. And they need to be a little bit more targeted. The last purpose of marketing for a medical practice that a lot of practices don't really think about is to drive repeat visits from existing patients. This is perhaps more relevant for a medical practice that provides, again, repeat treatments or practices like aesthetics, right? It is much, much easier to reach an existing patient than it is to find a new one. And so one way that you can think about marketing is to drive more repeat visits, more patient revenue from existing patients, right? Through email re-engagement campaigns or whatever. So hopefully this has helped expand you're thinking a little bit in terms of how marketing can be used for your practice. And at the very least, helps you understand maybe some of the questions to think about as you're building a strategy, a marketing strategy for your practice, and different ways you can be thinking about your marketing, different objectives you can address. So this is something we do all the time for medical practices. We help them understand, which objective is the right one to go after. We also help them understand what order to go after. Do you need to start with a awareness building campaign before you start driving leads for specific treatments? So if you're interested in understanding what a strategy would look like for your medical practice, visit us at runneragency.com and request a consultation to speak with one of our medical marketing experts.